round two, bitch!
March has been okay. We had a few good movies, one really good movie, and the rest, well...
that sucked.
While only one film is complete shit, there have been a decent amount of letdowns this month, so as tradition, let's rank them. The new releases that I saw in March 2026, and some spoilers because it's been long enough. I don't know who thought it would be a good idea to cast Milla Jovovich, the actress nobody takes seriously, in a movie about fucking trafficking. As you may guess, the result is hilariously bad. Not only is the film incredibly boring and overly reliant on plot conveniences, it's held together by scenes that don't make any sense. The premise is her daughter is kidnapped by traffickers. She is unstoppable, so the joke's on them, as in they do really stupid things like giving her a weapon to use in one scene, and just all around not competent. But the stupid shit really comes in when she has her daughter back and leaves her alone next to a window. Along with the idea that the FBI are going to casually shoot up her house because the fact that she killed traffickers is so serious, bystanders don't matter.
That doesn't make any sense!
I know the cops corrupt, but still, kind of stupid. I can't ignore the fact that she wears a timer depicting how long the kidnapped victims usually make it. It doesn't really matter if you're going to do the rescuing on your own. It's more of a negotiation thing. And finally, you get the big twist at the end. Her daughter was dead the whole time, which she couldn't accept, and has been saving random women throughout the movie. That's a fine twist, but any movie can do that. It doesn't change the stupidity. Everybody still makes really dumb decisions. That's still a thing. To understand how bad Protector is, really you have to watch it. I'm sorry to say that, but it's somewhat of a scene-for-scene deal. I don't really advise doing it because it's a movie about trafficking. It shouldn't be a joke, and this basically is. Action's okay. When you get to see it, the acting is fine. There are some not very good March movies, but this one takes the cake. So, recently I learned The Bride has some behind-the-scenes interference that may or may not excuse the really bad quality of the movie. It's still woke and feminist-themed, but not outside of a few lines, so I don't believe that's the deal-breaker, though it is still somewhat cringy. No, it's just not a well-done movie. You could have made Frankenstein the lead. If you wanted, it doesn't matter. It pure and simply doesn't go anywhere. I'm not excusing the behavior by those involved. Blaming it on sexism is again just stupid. Unlike what Tom Hanks said, nobody gives a shit, get over it. I'm sorry, I know it's not just him, but I didn't think he'd go there. Still, the intention of the director is not relevant in the end. Maybe the movie could have been good, even if it had a stupid message. Unfortunately, it came down to dance numbers, visuals, and women drive. You don't get much for a plot. It kind of just keeps moving. It doesn't make you care about the characters. Why it turned out so bad, who knows, it just did. An extremely empty movie. The acting may be superb on both ends, but that can't save something like this. This is the movie when an Asian girl gets surgery to become white because oppression. Do I need to go on? Never mind how awful it is to make something like this in this day and age. To imply America is literally this racist, you have to be white to live. I'll pretend I'm the fucking tone-deaf individual who believes this shit. Even so, it's not done right. In the beginning, Joan Hung is treated awful for being Asian. Yeah, that's it. Upon getting surgery and becoming white, she's accepted. That's clearly the message, you can't deny that. But it's not exactly what you're seeing. We eventually find out they were all a different race and got the same surgery, so technically it's not the white people committing the oppressive acts throughout the movie. No, it's more of submit to our cause, the become white cause, or be expelled from society. That does somehow make it slightly less stupid, as the racist acts we see are not legit. but we still know how they got to that point. Now, prior to popular belief, I am aware that racism is a thing, but if you really think this movie is an accurate depiction, I'd love to know what you do on a daily basis, because you've not been to school, that's obvious. You haven't been to a store, because according to this movie, if you're not white, people stare at you. Yes, it literally goes there. And the implication is made that getting a tan is racist, because if you're not white, you can't do that?
So that's racism!
Granted, it's not a normal tan, they're leaving part of their body untanned for a climate change message, but still, that's just ridiculous. Slanted is beyond stupid. It's for those who don't have a concept of reality, who probably don't go outside. It is funny, that's the only positive. It's a fucking hilarious movie. The It's Good to Be White song is a highlight. It's so dumb. It's funny. Now, there is the body horror element too, when the surgery goes wrong and her face melts off, but it's only described to be temporary, so who cares? It's not really what the movie is, it's just a dumb statement that only the mentally insane believe. So if you're one of them, this may be for you. Okay, I know some people like this, but I don't. I just don't. It's a very lackluster sequel. It's crazy too, because the potential was there. I actually believed a follow-up was warranted. Expanding the mythology, how the devil cult really controlled everything that is done at the beginning and a few times throughout the movie, but that's still not really enough. By continuing right where it left off, giving Grace a sister, Faith, who again doesn't get along with, they can now focus most of the movie on that. They argue for reasons that make no sense. You see, Grace wanted to take on this scholarship, which meant leaving her. What an awful person. It's explained that they had good foster parents. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's life. That said, they mainly just jokingly argue. You don't take it that seriously until they get this. Faith decides to save Grace from being killed instead of escaping, and that's unforgivable. You see, when good writing isn't a thing and you need two characters to be in separate locations, but there's no reason for it, stuff like this helps to get that done. This way Grace can say something completely unreasonable, Faith can finally fuck off, and the plot can continue. The other big issue with the movie is the final act. It's way too long, drawn out, and just not deserved. Even the first movie, despite being really good, wouldn't have warranted this either, so this one definitely didn't. Maybe if you cared about them, but I don't see why you would. The bad guys aren't really interesting either. Mostly one note, half of them die early on. Through sheer luck, good fucking job there. The same goes for the action. They run around, get lucky, one guy can't snipe, one guy gets conveniently dropped into a washing machine. It just happens to be there. Who would have seen that coming? So unlike Black Phone 2 and Nobody 2, that really couldn't justify existing, this could have. But in the end, you wouldn't guess that. And then again, maybe you would, given the rating. But who cares what any of them think? If you like it, good for you, that's okay, but luckily a better Devil Cult movie came out this month, which you likely know about by now. We'll get into that. First though, the gaming channel is available via link down in the description. By that I mean it's been available, I'm just being fucking stupid, but check it out if you want to see gaming content. As a huge fan of her previous movies, this is painful for me because I love stuff like this. I love daring movies you don't normally get in America, which is a cop-out for saying I have problems. But sadly, Alpha isn't that good. It looks great, the acting is phenomenal, various scenes, use of the song, the mercy seat, so many things to like. It's not you wasted my time deal, but the way it combines her real life issues with the disease that turns people into rock and sand is not done correctly. Unlike Titane, a movie about sex with cars, it fails to blend together realism and fantasy. It's more like the disease is there to label it body horror, any illness would have fit the narrative. The twist at the end is not that hard to see coming. I do like how they blend the past and the present, but the way the movie looks is the best thing about it. The ending is not impactful like her previous movies, not even close. It lacks any direction, only looking like you're supposed to care. I don't see why you would. I do kind of get into the situation at hand. I'm not completely uninvested, but there is no denying it's not essential viewing. Why the movie's like this, I don't know. It's a huge step down. Check out her 2 previous movies, and only watch this if you're really into that kind of thing. I still am, so it's an okay viewing. A lot of good elements really sell it, but that's about it. Dolly is a movie that I saw but didn't cover because it was pretty good. It's just not a lot to say. You get this couple, they're in love, they're out walking in a mysteriously questionable area with dolls everywhere, thus the title. So when Chase, the boyfriend, decides to go investigate the weird music off the beaten path, he's fucked up pretty good. Leg busted, jaw ripped open by a crazy person dressed as a wax doll, I think, and his girlfriend Macy is taken to be its pet.
How do we get ourselves into these messes, pal?
From that point on, the movie is pretty dark and quite twisted. Lots of disturbing things happen to Macy, being forced to eat disgusting food, a real messed up breastfeeding scene. And in the meantime, Chase is somehow not dead. He can't walk and his jaw's not connected, but he's not dead. The problem is, he has no chance of making it. He could never crawl back home, and upon eventually finding the house, he's promptly killed. So, can't say that's too relevant. As for the plot, it's held together by Macy's stupidity. Given the thing commonly loses it and tends to let her do as she pleases, it wouldn't have been that hard to kill it. Like, stab it with anything, or just knock it on the head. You got this other guy locked in the house too. He ends up being bad, but to free him, she manages to get the key when it's sleeping. Like, why not just, find something pointy or heavy? I know, horror movie, and she may just be scared, but toward the end, when she gets out of the house and it goes after her, she is at one point beating it with a shovel and just stops, along with leaving the shovel. An innocent bystander gets killed because of this. I'm sorry, but maybe think of some other way. In the end, it's just killed by being run over, so it's not supernatural, just big. But yeah, not a bad movie. It's stupid, somewhat reliant on its disturbing value. If you like that kind of thing, you may enjoy this. It's all I can say, that's why I didn't cover it, and that's what it is. I expected Undertone to be good despite the modest budget, very modest, but not gonna lie, it stood out. Only one cast member on screen who speaks, and a very heavy reliance on creepy sounds. I mean, that's to be expected. And the way Baa Baa Black Sheep is played in reverse and what it ends up sounding like is really an effective moment, just for what it is. And the reason the movie succeeds is they maintain that tone. The whole thing gets under your skin, if you get me. It's probably not going in a good direction. Not the most unexpected outcome there. But when you get to the end, it has this hopeless vibe. You don't really know exactly what happens, but there's no chance it's anything good. It's another one you have to see to get what I'm saying, but it's how a low-budget film should be done. The acting by Nina Carey has a lot to do with that. I mean, she has to mostly carry this, acting-wise. It's an important thing to not mess up. It takes the idea of sound over vision and gets the most out of it. Like some say, it's scarier to hear it than see it. Well, why wouldn't it be? I definitely enjoyed it. Maybe not for everybody, but since when is that possible? Unfortunately, They Will Kill You, the devil cult movie that wasn't as heavily advertised, is the better devil cult movie. I feel I said that a lot this month, It gives you what it promises, that's the main thing. Fun action, ridiculous humor, not the best character moments or emotional stuff. Why should it? It doesn't need to do that. And it goes above and beyond with a lot of nice details. When in particular, when the room gets lighter, the more people are set ablaze. It's fun stuff. I can talk about the end now, the final boss, the pighead-like devil, an unexpectedly cool finale for a movie like this. The way all the sub-villains get trapped in a certain position, and when their names finally get burnt off the pighead, they die. For real. Because of how they're currently stuck. That's inventive too. Speaking of, they can't die normally, they just come back to life. That alone leads to even more funny moments. I was watching the Jeremy Jahns review, which did lean a bit more negative. I get why people say that, but in the same vein, I don't know what's expected of this. The stuff like the fire scene and the final encounter is creative. It's creative enough. I mean, what do you want? Every kill to be unique? Yeah, I'm not particularly into any character. It could end any which way. I wouldn't have minded. But when you come to a movie called They Will Kill You, a fun time along with a lot of creative ideas is more than good enough. That's what Ready or Not 2 failed at. It wasn't that fun. It thought it was something bigger. This doesn't, so it works. Should it be the second best movie this month? No, not by any means. But that's the way Hollywood is now. A certain actor who is not Tom Hanks recently said it best, and speaking of, yeah, Project Hail Mary is the best movie this March. What did you think it is? Just so you know, aside from Dolly, I reviewed all these movies, so check out any of those for a full analysis. But for a film about a man going into space to save the planet, or the sun, teaming up with a rock-shaped alien, and really making you care, it couldn't have been done better. I'm always looking not to be the guy who completely agrees, but you kinda have to. It's a heartfelt movie. If it ended badly, I'd be sad. It doesn't end badly, and that fits it. Lead acting by Ryan Gosling is fantastic. Good for him for saying what Hollywood needs to do, and above all, it's visually stunning. I'm not somebody to immensely care about visuals, even if it is the main selling point, but when the whole thing is this good, you really get mesmerized by that. To anybody who gives a shit about the Oscars, which you shouldn't, I goes far to say they should win in the visual department, whatever that means. The movie is exciting when it needs to be. I don't think it leans too heavily into that. That was a confusing criticism, even if it is slight, but it's not the main reason the movie works. All these positives would be for naught if it didn't have the right pace. It takes time to develop him and Rocky, the alien. The way it goes back and forth between the spaceship and back on Earth is again effectively done. What I mean is pacing. It's paced correctly. For a 2.5-hour movie, you can't mess that up. But the one detail that I love that completely enhances everything is how in the end, Grace was just a coward and didn't want to go on the mission, even though it would mean death in about 30 years. So that's genius. They literally make him go by force, and it makes everything so much more impactful. Knowing he didn't want to do it, becoming this honorable person, he even accepted his fate. It's like some movies are afraid of this, because you might not like him. He was still decent before that, not a bad guy by any means, but he'd rather live 30 years than go into space and die. Also, you have the ending. Inevitably going back to save Rocky, even though that means never going back home, eventually living on his planet, teaching school to more rock aliens. That was his job. The ending is perfect. I can't deny Project Hail Mary is the best movie of the year so far. I may personally like 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple more, but that's just me. I don't think it's the first great movie, like I just said, but I can see the praise here. For these reasons, it's still making money. If you haven't seen it, why? Just go see it. Unless you don't like wholesome sci-fi movies, then, don't see it. Either way, that concludes the ranking of all the new March movies of 2026. As you likely know, let me know your opinions, comment anything, subscribe, like the video, definitely share it, because when I say the algorithm is bad, I'm not kidding. They completely killed it last year, so any kind of support is appreciated. As is hitting the bell, because if you don't, you may not get notified. Recommendations are trash, but I'm the cinema analyst because somebody has to be.